In this lesson, I want to go through the basic elements in Elementor. I want to show you exactly how they work and what are the best situations that you can use them. So let's start with the heading element. So let's drag it onto our screen. And here we have the element. So you can click here to edit it, but as we just dragged it, it's already selected. So here you would type in your heading. If you want the heading to be clickable, then you can add your link here. Then you can set the size for your heading. However, this is sort of like a duplicate feature because you can also edit the size in the style section, which I'll show you in a second. Then you can specify which tag you want to use for the heading. And then you can set up the alignment. Now, if we go to style, we have some more options here of how to customize this heading. So we can change the text color, we can change the typography, and here we can change the size of the heading, as well as some other features. Like over here, you can change the font family for the heading, and this is pretty useful, the weight feature. So do you want it to be thinner or thicker? So that's the heading tag. And in advanced, well, we have standard Elementor advanced settings. So let's go back to the elements. And the next element is the image. So let's drag it over here and let's insert it under the heading. So what you do is here, click, and you upload an image. So you can click here, upload files, and drop your files anywhere on the screen. Or what I'm going to do is I'll just select a already existing image. So let's say this one, and let's insert it. Here we can specify the size that gets inserted into your web page. So let's just go medium large. Then we can set the alignment. If we want, we can add a caption that will appear underneath this image, or we can make the image clickable. So we add a custom URL, and then whenever somebody clicks on this, they will be taken to that URL. So this is useful. Like you can use the image element if you have banners. You can just add your banner, insert the link, and the person will be redirected to the offer that is advertised in the banner. Now, if we go to style, then over here, we can set the exact size of the image. We can set a maximum width of the image as well. And there are some other features, like we could add a border if we wanted to. We could make the border curved. You can change the type of the border. You can add a different color to the border. And then for advanced, we have the typical advanced options. So let's go back to the elements. And now I'll talk about the text editor. This is probably the easiest element because let's just make this a little bit bigger. And this should actually be familiar to you. If you've ever used Google Docs or Microsoft Word or even OpenOffice, this uses pretty much the same features. So here you just type in your content. You can format it how you like. If you click on style, you have more formatting options. But once again, this is very similar to say Word or Google Docs. You can set up your typography, change the text color. If you want the text to be visible in columns, then you can set how many columns you want. These are the gaps for columns. So this is a pretty straightforward feature. Let's just go back to normal view. And now let's cover the video element. So let's insert this into a separate section. Okay, so it's already loaded a YouTube video. So basically the way this works is you have the source here. You can choose where the video comes from. So YouTube is very popular. If you have a different, like a self-hosted video, then you can just select self-hosted. But I'll show you how it works with YouTube. So YouTube is selected. Here you paste the link of your YouTube video. You can set a start time for the video and end time. You have some more video options here. One thing which is valuable is here, you have the image overlay. So at this moment, choose your video. This is sort of the image, the image thumbnail that YouTube uses. If you want to change this, then you can just select this, choose a different image, click insert image, and as you can see, there is a different thumbnail for the image. Now for the style, you can set a different aspect ratio, but I mean, I don't think you will be changing this. I think 16:9 is pretty common. You can add some different colors to your video here, so you can play around with this. And here you can set up the play icon, so you can customize it to look however you like. Now, if you want to make this video a little bit smaller, the easiest way I have found to do this is just go to Advanced and add some padding. So look what happens to the video when I start adding padding. So it gets smaller. So this is the video element, and we are adding padding to each side. But alternatively, you could add the video into a column or to an inner section, which I will cover in shortly, and then the video it won't be like full page like it is right now. Okay, so let's go back to the elements, and I will save some space, so I will delete this, and let's cover the button element. So I'll click it and drag it over here. Let's center it. So here's our button. So firstly, we can set the type of the button. But this is mostly different formatting. So let's just select default. Here you can type in the text of your button, for example, learn more. Here you can type in the link. So when somebody clicks the button, they will be taken to this link. So let's say, okay, let's just use Google. Now, when you are using the button element, depending where you are linking, if you're linking away from your website, then what you want to do is click Link Options and select this checkbox, Open in New Window. So what this does is that when somebody clicks the button on your website, a new tab will open with that link. So this works really, really good because the user still stays on your website. Because if this is unchecked, then when they click this button, they will be taken away from your website. But you want the users, well, depending on your content, I would assume you want the users to stay on your website. Okay, let's close this. Now over here, we have the button size. So as you can see, you have 5 different sizes, but I will show you another way of changing the size of the button in a second. Here you can select a icon, which basically appears next to the text. And let's move on to the style. Now here, let's say you want a button that is wider. So we go to padding and let's set up custom padding. So let's go 20, but we want the edges to be wider. So let's unlink the values and let's say add 100 to the right and 100 to the left. So I think this option here is much better than using this option, where was it? Here for the size. I think using the padding, you have more control of how the button actually looks. And with the button, here are 2 things that are also important. You've got the normal view and the hover view. So let's say we want to set the normal, let's make it blue. This is the normal view. If you click on hover, and let's change the background button to gray. Now what happens is when you hover your mouse, the button changes color. So as you can see, there are many options that you can set up here. It is very, very useful. Now, when you are formatting any of these elements, what you want to do is always make sure that you format it for all 3 views, the desktop view, tablet view, and mobile view. Because I mean, this looks okay on the desktop, but here's the phone. So if we want to have a smaller button for the phone, we just highlight the button. And let's say we want to add different padding. So let's just say 20 padding. So what this does is this saves the padding settings for the phone display. But when we go back to desktop, we have a normal display. So this is very important. You will have to actually go through all of your elements and make sure that they are properly configured for all 3 displays. Okay. And I will go back to inner section at the end because I think this is the most complicated element from the basic elements. So next we have the divider and spacer. These are actually very similar. Let's cover the divider first. Let's click it and drag it over here. As you can see, this is a horizontal line. We can make the line thicker. We can change the pattern of the line. We can change the color of the line as well. We can change the width of the divider, change the alignment of the divider, and we can change the gap. So this is basically like padding above and below the divider. The purpose of the divider is to separate your content. So if you have a lot of content together, you can separate it so your content looks like two different sections and will just be more pleasing to the eye. So having said that, let's delete the divider. And now I'll show you the spacer. This is very similar because it also serves the purpose of dividing content. But over here it's very simple. You only have one control and pretty much you just set up the spacing between different elements. So let's set the spacing 28 for the desktop. For the tablet, let's make the spacing like this. So as you can see, when I'm selecting a different display, a different icon here is selected. And I'm setting up different spacing for each display so that this is fully mobile optimized and it looks nice. Doesn't matter whether you're accessing the website on your phone, tablet, or desktop. Okay, so that's spacing. So spacing and divider are very similar elements. The main difference is that with the divider, you have an actual line that divides the content. Next, let me show you how Google Maps works. Let's just scroll down. Let's select it. So here we have a Google map of Coca-Cola in London Eye. Let's select a different location. For example, let's select Prague. It shows me the city of Prague. Now I can zoom in. Let's zoom in a little more. Okay, too much. But you know how this works. This is the zoom of the map. Then we can select the height of the actual map. So we can make it taller or shorter. And then we have this option here, prevent scroll. If this is selected, it means that when somebody visits your website, this Google Maps is not an interactive element. It pretty much works like a screenshot. If we select no, prevent scrollable, this means that whenever somebody visits your website, they will be able to use these controls. So they can zoom in, zoom out, change the location, click this button like view larger map, change the display of the map. It depends how much freedom you want to give the users, but prevent scrollable, yes, it works on most occasions. For the style, you can just change, I don't really see why you would do this, but you could change the view of these maps. So if you want to add some different colors, then you can play around with it and do this here. Okay, so that is Google Maps. Okay, this looks ugly when I change the color, so I will just delete this. Then we have the icon. So let's add an icon above our heading. So let's click it and drag it over here. First things first, in Elementor you have a lot of different icons. So you can select any type of icon that you want. Then you can format. How does it look? Do you want it to be like stacked or framed? So different views. This icon feature is very useful if you have like a features and benefits section and you want to use a different icon to describe a different feature or benefit. If you want your icons to be clickable, you can add your link here. And then of course you can set your alignment. If you go to style, you have more options for formatting the icon, such as changing the size of the icon. You can change the color of the icon. You can add a border if you would like. So this is very useful and it's convenient because there are a lot of different icons that you can select. Okay, and now let's move on over to the inner section. which is the last element that I will cover, but this is because I think it's the most complicated out of all of these. But it's also one of the most useful, and you will have to learn how to use it. So let's click it and drag it over here. This has actually created 2 sections. And in each section, you can now add elements. So let's say we want to move the heading to the left side, the picture to the right side, and let's say the text to the left column. Now, before I continue, this looks like this because the size is set up a little bit differently. I think I had some sort of limit, max width percentage. Let's just set this to 100, and then here we can set the default width that you want to use. Okay, so back to the inner section. So as you can see, we created 2 columns that we can add elements into. Here we can specify, do we want like a full width section or do we want it boxed? And we can set up how wide we want the 2 columns. If we want to, we can actually make one section smaller, the other section larger. And actually we can do this in 2 ways. One is what, like I'm showing you, clicking and dragging the middle border, or you can click here. So here I'm editing the left section, and let's say I want to make this, let's just go 65%, and then here it's changed it to 35%. So sometimes this changes it to be even 100, other times you will have to manually change this. Another thing that you can set up here is the vertical align or the horizontal align. So I'm changing this to the middle. Here you have the widget space. So you can see this is the spacing between the widgets that are in this intersection. Now at this moment there are many websites which use sort of like 2 column layouts. So you may see something like this. Let's just duplicate this. And this is just a quick version that I'm showing you. But I mean, I'm sure you've seen many websites, and let's just delete this for now. I'm sure you've seen many websites where they have like content on the left column, image on the right, then image on the left, content on the right. This is a pretty commonly accepted web structure at this moment. But when we go to, say, mobile view, this doesn't look all that good because we've got the heading, text, image, that's fine. But then we've got the image, text, heading. So this doesn't work out. So with Elementor, they have a section where you can fix this. You just highlight the main section, go to advanced, click on responsive, and then you can reverse the columns. So if I click on this, now it looks nice. However, I will just show you one thing because you have to, this is a little bit more complicated because when you create a new section, you have more options. So here's the layout options, here's another layout options, but the entire inner section settings are here. So this reverse columns, it's only visible when you select the entire section. If you just go here, advanced, responsive, you don't have this option. So this is just something to keep in mind, that you have to select the entire inner section and then this reverse column features will be visible. And before I end this, I wanted to show you one more thing about this. So you've got 2 sections here. If you want to have 3 sections, you just select one of the sections and then you click on duplicate. Then we have 3 sections. If you want 4, duplicate. If that's too much, then you can delete this. So the inner section is a really useful feature in all of your web design because you can pretty much recreate any type of layout that you want using the inner section. And with that, I've concluded and introduced you to all of the 10 basic features of Elementor. And these are actually free features, so even if you don't have the paid version, you can use all of these elements. But I hope that just by seeing these elements, you can see that you can really use them and recreate a lot of different like web designs, and it will look professional and mobile responsive.